Let's go through all the symptoms of insulin resistance, which is probably one of the most common health problems in the world today. And a recent study showed that 88% of Americans have at least one marker of metabolic syndrome, which is defined as having any three of these basically these five signs I'm going to show you here. Okay, number one, they have at least one of either high abdominal obesity. We'll go into more of these detail in a second. 2, high blood pressure. 3, high fasting triglycerides. 4, low HDL. And 5, high fasting blood glucose. Think of it. Now, that's 88% of Americans have at least one of these signs of metabolic syndrome. Crazy, eh? Now, I bet other countries such as Canada aren't far off, which is completely unfortunate. Now, people that are pre-diabetic, diabetic, have insulin resistance. So this is a serious problem as millions and millions of people are dealing with just these two conditions alone, let alone all the other myriad of conditions that are related to insulin resistance. So before we just get into this, before we delve deep into the 28 signs and symptoms of insulin resistance, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit that red subscribe button, click that little notification bell right beside it so you never miss when I release a new video. And when you click the notification bell, select all so you're notified of all videos. And if you're viewing this on your mobile phone, go to the settings tab, then tap on the notifications section, then tap on the YouTube, and then select allow notifications, just so you're going to be notified through your phone as well. Now, just before we get into these signs, if you haven't tried the grass-fed, grass-finished beef liver and organ supplements from Ancestral Supplements, I highly recommend it. I've been using these for some time now, and I've really been enjoying them. They're made from grass-fed, grass-finished, pasture-raised cows from New Zealand that are pesticide-free, hormone-free, and GMO-free. So, as I was mentioning, these are the liver and organ supplements that I use every day and that I supplement my diet with because I just personally have found that eating fresh liver at this time isn't very palatable. Now, if you have a good recipe that can actually make liver taste better, please definitely send it to me. I would love to make that dish more palatable because if you can get the fresh organs, definitely do that, eat them that way. But if you can't, then I recommend trying a desiccated freeze-dried supplement like Ancestral Supplement. So check them out at the link below. And if you want to use the coupon code TYRON10, you can get 10% off your order. So let's discover and go through the 28 symptoms of insulin resistance. Now, do you have any of these symptoms? If so, I want you to make note of them, jot them down, write them down as I'm going through them, just so you can see maybe how many or how few of these 28 you have. Number 1, frequent urination at night. So you have to get up several times per night to use the bathroom, which apart from this immediate issue, also is a nuisance as it disrupts your sleep and is completely unnecessary if you know what to do to reverse insulin resistance. Number 2, frequent hunger. You're needing to snack between meals and at night. Number 3, you need a nap after eating, especially after lunch. Number 4, you're not satisfied after eating. So you might be stuffed after a meal, but you feel that there's something missing. So when you are insulin resistant, there is a dysfunction in the cells being able to pull nutrients in. So essentially the cells are starving of nutrients despite you eating a big meal, and maybe even despite you eating frequently. Number 5, craving carbohydrates. Now this could be in the form of pasta, bread, cereal, crackers, biscuits, muffins, cupcakes, waffles, pancakes, sugar. You get the idea. You're craving carbohydrates, you know you're insulin resistant. Number 6, low endurance and fatigue. Okay, so If you have low endurance when you exercise or you're just generally tired throughout the day, you're most likely suffering from some form of insulin resistance. Number 7, belly fat. Now, this is probably one of the biggest indicators of insulin resistance, and as I referred to earlier, is one of the 5 signs of metabolic syndrome. So a waist circumference, so right along the belly button, right along the navel, of greater than 102 centimeters for men and 88 centimeters for women. Now, this is particularly problematic if you are what's referred to as skinny fat, which is basically thin on the outside, meaning you have low subcutaneous fat, so the fat under your skin is low, but you're fat on the inside. So you have high visceral and ectopic fat, so the fat around and within your organs. Now, a great test you can do on yourself, to see if you're suffering from this, obviously it's just to measure your waist, but the test to do that's a really good indicator of insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, is to do the height to waist ratio test. So to do this, you got to calculate, you want to divide your waist by your height in either inches or centimeters. So to be healthy, your waist circumference should be less than half your height, meaning your score, when you do the calculation, should be less than 0.5. If you're over 0.5, it means you're more kind of at risk for, or potentially could be insulin resistant, so you want to get that number to be below. Number 8 sign that you, or 8 symptom of insulin resistance is high cholesterol, specifically high triglycerides, high LDL, and at the same time low HDL, the trifecta as they call it. Number 9, high blood pressure. Also as indicated above as one of the 5 signs of metabolic syndrome, you're diagnosed with high blood pressure with a reading of 130 over 85 millimeters per of mercury, okay, or above. So 130 systolic over 85 diastolic, okay, or higher. Number 10 symptom is a fatty liver. Now, I did a whole video on this a few weeks ago, which I will link to here, just down in the description. So definitely check that out. Number 11, PCOS, which is Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. Now, when you have high insulin resistance, or when you have insulin resistance, you have high insulin, which converts to androgens, which also affect the female hormones, specifically estrogen and progesterone. Number 12, you have dark folds. So on the back of your neck, okay, in the armpit, also kind of in the groin area, you have these dark folds that are kind of not necessarily scaly, but they look quite dry and they look quite crevicey. Number 13, cysts, like in regards to a Baker's cyst on the back of the knee. Number 14, skin tags. Now, this is actually something I used to have years ago when I used to eat a lot more refined carbohydrates. So those little skin tags you get on your neck or armpit area or basically anywhere in your body, there's just these little skin growths. Okay, that's a sign of and a symptom of insulin resistance. Number 15, high fasting blood glucose. So as indicated above, this just seems like it's a general theme here. As indicated above, this is also one of the signs of the metabolic syndrome issue. Okay, so you're diagnosed with high blood glucose with a reading of 100 milligrams per deciliter or above. Now, ideally, you want this score to be about 70 to 80. So if you're above 80, you're definitely close to or in that insulin resistance zone. Number 16 is high fasting insulin levels. So you want this to be below 5 milli international units per liter or lower. Ideally, you want it to be about 3, okay? Some people are upwards of 9, 10, 11, 12, way up there. So we want it 5 or below, but ideally 3. Now, the test you want to ask your doctor for is a HOMO-IR, which stands for homeostatic model assessment of insulin resistance. Now, the meaningful part of this acronym is actually the IR, insulin resistance part. This is basically a calculation. This calculation marks for both the presence and extent of any insulin resistance that you might currently have or be expressing. Number 17 sign of insulin resistance is inflammation and pain. So any type of the itises, so such as bursitis, tendinitis, arthritis, all signs that you may be dealing with insulin resistance. Number 18, sleep apnea. So this is where you wake up regularly throughout the night, sometimes without even knowing it, due to your airways being blocked. Number 19, slow metabolism. So if you have a certain weight that you just can't seem to drop below, we know there is insulin resistance involved because high insulin, the hormone insulin, is the switch that keeps you from burning fat. So when insulin's high, fat burning is low. When insulin is lower, fat burning is elevated. Okay, they're inversely related. Number 20, memory problems, so such as dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Number 21, you're moody, irritable, depressed, and anxious. No one likes that. Number 22, loss of muscle mass, also known as sarcopenia. So this in part is due to your cells not being able to pull amino acids into the cells. So as a result, you're also going to have issues with your joints, right? Because you're going to have collagen absorption issues. So your joints are going to start to fall apart too. So you're losing muscle, losing joint tissue, losing connective tissue. Number 23, nutrient malabsorption. So not only are you going to have difficulties absorbing amino acids like we just talked about, but you're also going to have difficulties absorbing potassium, magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin D, among others. Number 24, an increase in sympathetic nervous system, okay? This is your fight, flight, or freeze response. Now, when in insulin resistance, your system is always kind of like jacked up, okay? So a couple of symptoms of this would be like a lack of sleep, an inability to relax, decreased stress response or decreased stress tolerance, and dizziness when you get up too fast. So by reversing insulin resistance, you calm the system down and shift more over into a parasympathetic nervous system kind of response, which is like calming and relaxing. So you're going from that fight, flight, or freeze response to more of a relaxing, calming effect. Number 25 symptom of insulin resistance is acne. Now this is another one that I suffered from for many years ago. Now it was very painful. As surprising that may sound, it was actually quite painful and very humiliating, which is the worst part. And it does a number on your self-esteem. Not fun, okay? This is not something you want to have. So if anything, you want to avoid, reverse, get rid of insulin resistance, even just for this, okay? And this is actually one of the symptoms of PCOS, which I mentioned earlier. Number 26, low testosterone. Number 27, pre-diabetes. As mentioned earlier, this is pre-diabetes or diabetes. So, sorry. I was distracted by my dog there. So, if you have pre-diabetes or you are diabetic and have diabetes, you basically have insulin resistance. So either one of those cases, you have insulin resistance. We need to work on reversing it, okay? Number 28, final last one of the symptoms of insulin resistance is poor focus and brain fog, okay? There you have it. Now, do you have any of these insulin resistance symptoms? If so, and you want to learn how to get started on a lifestyle that basically can correct this condition and reverse it, visit my website at tyronpiteau.com/newsletter and download my 8 strategies for lasting fat loss and optimal health. It's a guide that I've made available for free, and you also will receive a free 20-minute online consultation. So I hope this is helpful on the 28 insulin resistant symptoms. If you think anyone could benefit from this, please consider sharing it with anyone and anywhere on social media, as you may help someone resolve their health issue or even at a minimum drastically improve it. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. And if you like this video, please click the thumbs up button. And as mentioned earlier, please remember to subscribe and click the notification bell right beside it and select all. And as always, if you have ideas for future videos, or you have questions for me, or just any sort of comments that you have, please just put them below, as I'd love to know what videos you'd like me to create and just kind of what you're thinking about. So keep it locked in here on my channel, and I look forward to coming to you in the next video. Happy fat loss.